So continuing with the Denkōroku, again, these are the, Sando Roshi called them the cases of the patriarchs. And these are really, as I mentioned, these are part of the Zen transmission process. You work these and they're treated as koans. So you really get in and get into the mind of these various teachers. Because part of what I found so fascinating with koan work is that not only do you take on the koan and distill it down to its important one or two turning phrases, but it's also really interesting to inhabit the consciousness of the people in the koan. So like doing this is Shakyamuni transmitting to Mahakāssyapa, and to enter into their consciousness and feel what it was like, even a little bit, is quite profound. To feel the depth and breadth of, like the Buddha, what kind of a consciousness there is there. So this is entitled Two Clear Mirrors Facing Each Other Outside Time. I mean, that alone is a great line. I could probably stop there. We could ponder that. So the koan is when Shakyamuni raises a wildflower, his destined successor smiles. The living Buddha responds to his intimate companion with the great intensity of transmission. I am the wonderful mind. I am nirvana. I am the inexhaustible treasure house, the eye of non-duality. Now this light is manifest as you, as Mahakāssyapa. And there's so much here that's really great. I mean, first, really pointing to the Buddha as a living Buddha. And this is an important realization to the fact that it's the absolute functioning in this human form. And he responds to this. So the Buddha holds up this flower, this wildflower. And in the commentary it says there were 80,000 people there. So among 80,000 people, one person smiled the knowing smile of what was communicated in holding that flower. And in that moment, the mind-to-mind seal happened. They both experienced it simultaneously. And that's when the Buddha said, I am wonderful mind. And when the Buddha, or in these stories, when someone refers to I, they're not referring to a personality, to a human. They're referring to the absolute. So it's saying the absolute is the wonderful mind. The absolute is nirvana. The absolute is the inexhaustible treasure house, the eye of non-duality. I love that line, the eye of non-duality. I mean, seeing from that unity, both seeing from and seeing everything, perceiving everything as an expression of that unity, the oneness, the undividedness that we chant in the precepts. And now this light is manifest as you, as Mahakāssyapa. So very fascinating. In the commentary, and the man that did this, Lex Hixon, he's a Dharma brother, or was a Dharma brother, he's deceased now, of Sando Roshi. He received Dharma transmission from Glassman Roshi, as did Sando. And I was told he spent 2 years working with Glassman on this particular period of work, and then ended up writing the book as a result of it, which is, I've got probably 7 translations of this, and this is one of the better ones. And the commentary is quite excellent too. So in the commentary, what was interesting in the commentary was that Shakyamuni's awakening beneath the Bodhi tree, the 3 jewels of teacher, teaching, and community remain fused. So there is no community yet when the Buddha has this awakening. There isn't a distinction, there's no teaching yet. There's just realization. But as the transmission goes to Mahakāssyapa, then it begins to divide. There's now a Sangha, right? So there's now, all of this begins to open up. There's now teaching. There was a flower, there was an understanding that they both got in the same moment. And that's where the 3 treasures started. Interestingly, I'll just say that historically, there's no record of Mahakāssyapa. So in the suttas and other materials of the day, he didn't exist. So one of the things in the Zen tradition is they've backfilled in places. The teachers won't tell you, but the scholars will. But the main point is some of these people are a conglomeration, but there needed to be somebody like Mahakāshyapa, and there were destined successors. So they've gone back and again backfilled some of these and sometimes lineages died without Dharma heirs. And so when the next sort of deeply realized teacher came along, then that became the next anchor of the lineage. And then there was a backfill. Even the big teacher who we'll read about later, Bodhidharma, who's credited for bringing Zen from India to China, probably is a composition of people as well. They're not sure he was one person, the scholars. But, for our purposes, it's the transmission that's so important rather than the individuals. So one line here, on the sacred mountain outside linear time. So very important there too. Linear time, we have past and future. And when we get deep enough in our practice, we begin to realize the past and future are only concepts. There is no past and future. There's only this moment, always this moment. This is the only moment that ever exists. We're always in the moment. And so it says here, I lost the line. On the sacred mountain outside linear time, Shakyamuni has already revealed all-embracing Prajna Paramita. Prajna Paramita, Prajna means wisdom, Paramita means perfect or perfection. So this is saying perfect wisdom. The Buddha has revealed all-embracing perfect wisdom, the Sutra of Transcendent Wisdom. Transcendent wisdom is the don't know of cessation. It's the source of the absolute. On the elusive mount of revelation, Shakyamuni now raises a flower, the living blossoming Prajna Paramita, wisdom beyond words and letters, wisdom beyond wisdom. The flower is the treasure house of the eye of the true Dharma, the Shobogenzo. Shobogenzo was the big book that Dogen wrote, 53 fascicles, and it says the Shobogenzo raised by Dogen Zenji 51 generations later in Japan. And this line's very interesting too. Without verifiable transmission, there can be no fully manifest jewel of Sangha, of enlightened community. So interesting again, without having this mind-to-mind seal that's mutually recognized, it doesn't give rise to Sangha, to our community. Yeah, it's really... Sorry? Can you define mind seal? I've never heard the term before. Yeah, the mind seal is a term that's used in the transmission literature, and when I first heard the term, I thought that it meant that the teacher somehow seals the student's mind in some particular way, but it's really more of a mutual confirmation. As I mentioned yesterday, I first experienced it with Sando Roshi and he with me, and it was just sort of instant that there was this shared consciousness, but we both could feel it, and we could feel that there was like this. There was the individual consciousnesses, and then there was the shared. And each of us could participate, both giving and receiving from that. So it's more the absolute's functioning with itself through these two humans is what's happening. But it's believed that in these transmission stories that there is the mind-to-mind seal. So they had that when Shakyamuni holds the flower, if I hold up this pen and somebody here gets what the expression is in a particular way, we both can know it in that moment. And we can both know the other knows it. And that's the mind-to-mind seal. So it's kind of an awkward phrasing, but that's what it means. Yeah, it's interesting in this, they really position the later development of Zen with Dogen being sort of the active energy. I mean, he really wrote the fascicles and had a very deep realization. And then Sando Roshi mentioned another teacher, Keizan, really was more like an administrator, really put into practice all the things Dogen wrote about. Like Zen Mountain Monastery, some of you have practiced that. They really try to follow the teachings of Dogen in terms of how they run the whole monastery and how they interact. Dogen wrote all these various essays about this. So the flower and this smile are the father-mother union of diamond thunderbolt, which is Vajra, and diamond bell, so cherished by tantric tradition. They are timelessly united, neither two nor one. And that's really important, neither two nor one. I don't know if you saw the menu board up in the kitchen, but I wrote Mu, and then I wrote another koan, the original face, and somebody wrote not two, not even one, which is another Zen line. You know, if you say not two to a person, they'll say, oh, one. And so here the old Chan masters would take away the one. They'd say not two, not one. So not two, not duality, but it's also not a oneness. We have to take away that concept too. And so I added something after they wrote that up on the board, you can see. But it's that not two, not one. Take away all the concepts, and that puts us directly in contact with reality.